What's up, millennials? Welcome to the very last part of this series about investing for beginners. So by now, what we have done is we know how to track your income, how to track your expenses. We know that you need a financial buffer of at least 3 months, but preferably 6 months. We've taken a look at the difference between saving your money on the one hand and investing it on the other hand. And we also checked out one of the easiest methods out there to get started in the stock market, which is ETF DCA, right? Buying ETFs using a dollar cost average method. So now we all know that, right? But how can we actually start buying these stocks? How can we actually start buying these ETFs? Well, that's what we're going to look at in this very last video of this series. Let's get started. So for this video, we're going to take a look at a platform called DEGIRO, which is basically only for European investors out there. So now you might be watching this from another country like the United States, for example, and you might think, well, okay, I don't live in Europe. I'm not going to use this platform, so this video is probably not going to be useful for me, right? Well, I can tell you that many of the platforms are very similar. So the things that I'm going to show you in this video are going to be very similar to the platforms that you can use in the United States. Two of the platforms that I've come across a lot and that I've heard a lot about are Robinhood in the United States. Robinhood right over here. This is their website. So if you are living in the United States and you want to use a broker that you're actually able to use in the United States, you can take a look at this one. And you can also take a look at M1 Finance. That's this website over here. So I don't know a lot about these platforms, but I have heard many people using both of these platforms. So check those out if you live in the United States. So for this video, we're going to take a look at a platform that can be used by European investors called DEGIRO. And I'm going to put a link in the description below, which is a referral link. Okay, so what happens is when you create an account and when you spend 20 euros on transaction costs within 3 months, you're gonna get those 20 euros back. And after that, I can also spend 20 euros on transaction costs within 3 months as well. And I'm also going to get the 20 euros back. Okay, so it's pretty much a win-win system for both of us. It's maybe not the best referral system in the world, but hey, it's something, right? All right, so when you click on that link in the description, you're probably going to be directed to this website over here. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this website is going to be in Dutch for you as well, if you're watching this website from another country. But in any case, what you want to do is you want to go to the bottom right over here, and here you can select a country. So here you simply select the country that you live in. Basically, pretty much all the countries from the European Union. So for this example, I'm just going to choose for the United Kingdom so that everything is in English at the same time as well. And what you want to do over here is simply click on Open an Account, all right? And you're going to be brought to this page over here. This is, of course, very straightforward. You simply type in your email address, you're going to choose a username, you're going to choose a password, and then you're going to click on Open Your Account. Now, just a little side note over here, there's also an app, so you can also download the app if you want to, and then get started with DEGIRO that way by using the app, all right? So once you've opened your account, one of the first things that you need to do is to get verified. So this is all going to be very straightforward. I don't think you need any help with that. I'm not able to show it right now to you because I've already got an account. But there are simply a few steps to get verified. It's very straightforward, but if you do have any questions, then you can always leave a comment or send me a DM or send me an email, and I will see if I can help you in any way. So once you're verified, you're going to be able to buy stocks and buy ETFs. This is basically the homepage of DEGIRO. Everything is going to be in Dutch in this video because unfortunately I am not able to change the language of the platform. By the way, if you're watching DEGIRO, please implement an option to actually change the language, but okay. So if you want to buy stocks, right, what do? Well, it's super simple. You simply type in the name of the stock you would like to buy. For example, well, let's go for Apple. You're going to click on that. And here you're going to see the basic information about this stock. You can take a look at the graph, for example, the price action of the last week or the last 3 months or last 3 years, whatever you want. You're also going to see what the price is currently. So right now it's about $116. And if you want to buy this stock, well, you simply click on the buy button over here, the green button over here. Then this window is going to pop up and you're going to see a few things. Now let's talk about especially the buy button and the sell button. These are quite straightforward, of course. If you want to buy stocks, then you click buy. If you want to sell them, you click sell, of course. But this is a little bit more important. Here it says limit order. And if we click on this drop down list, we're going to see 4 options: limit order, market order, a stop loss, and a stop limit order. Now for this video, we're just going to be looking at the difference between a limit order and a market order, because the other two are not going to be orders that you are going to be using a lot. So let's start with the market order. This is basically the most simple order out there. The only thing that you need to type in right now is the amount of shares that you would like to buy of this stock. So let's say you have $500 to invest, for example, and you would like to buy 4 shares of Apple, right? For, well, what's that, like $450 more or less. So you simply type in the number 4 over here. Then you click on place order. And here you're going to see a few details which you always need to check to see if you're actually buying stocks. If it's actually 4 and not like 4T or 400. You're going to check if it's actually a market order. And here is something very important as well, which are the transaction costs, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on as well. Now, when everything is good, when you think that everything is in order, you're going to click on this button that says confirm, right? And then there you go. Then you would have bought your first few shares. Now, one thing you do need to keep in mind is that when you place an order when the market isn't open just yet, then your order isn't going to be filled just yet. So right now it's 20 minutes past 1 Central Time over here. Market is going to open in about 2 hours time. So if I right now click on confirm over here, then we're going to see that this order is just going to be in the list of open orders, right? The order is not going to be filled right now because the market isn't open just yet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply cancel this order because I don't want to buy Apple shares right now. Because first we want to go back to the difference between a market order and a limit order. So we now know what a market order is. You simply need to, well, type in the amount of shares that you would like to buy. But a limit order is slightly different. First of all, you also need to type in the amount of shares you would like to buy. So let's say 4. And you need to type in something else, which is the price for which you would like to buy this share. Now, if you think that $116 is a little bit too much for you, and you think that the price for some reason is going to go down, like to $100, for example, then what you're going to do is you're going to type in $100 over here, because that's the price that you would like to pay for these shares. Now, there's going to be a number over here, which is going to be the total amount of euros, in this case, that it's going to cost you, because you're going to buy 4 shares for $100, which is $400, of course. But if you calculate that in euros, then it would be 339 euros, right? So when you've done this, you're also going to click on place your order. You're going to confirm this. Now, first keep in mind that the order isn't going to be filled just yet because the market isn't open, right? But also keep in mind that this order might never be filled because you have put a quite low price, just $100, and it could be that the price of Apple is never going to go down to $100. So it's never 100% guaranteed that your order is going to be filled anywhere in the future, right? So that's the difference between a limit order on the one hand and a market order on the other hand. Now let's talk about the transaction costs, all right? So if you buy shares of Apple, let's say you want to put in a market order. You're going to buy 4 shares of Apple. You're going to place your order. Then it's going to cost you, well, about $450, $460 to buy this, right? And right here, it's going to tell you that you would need to pay about 50 cents in euros in this case to actually fill your order. That is not that expensive, right? But what happens if you, for example, buy a share for a much lower price and if you buy just a few shares? Well, let's take a look at, for example, Shell, all right? Here you have Shell. Let's say you're going to buy these. You're going to put in a market order, and let's say you don't have a lot of money. You, for example, want to dollar cost average every week. You have 50 euros to do so. And this week you want to buy 5 shares of Shell in this case. So we're going to put the number 5 right here. We're going to click place your order. And now we see that for an order of about 50 euros, you're going to have to pay 2 euros in transaction costs, right? So in this case, if you would calculate the percentage of the transaction costs of the entire order, that would mean that 2 euros in an order of about 50 euros would be about 4%, right? So you would pretty much lose 4% already on your order. So you do need to keep that in mind. Okay, so now we have taken a look at how to buy stocks. But what about buying ETFs? Well, it's quite similar. The strategy or the method is very similar to the ones of buying individual stocks. The only thing is that in Europe, you're not able to buy ETFs like SPY, okay? Why not? Well, let's take a look at this website over here. The thing is that in Europe, we have a European regulation that ETFs, all funds, need to provide a certain key information document. And in this document, investors can find information about the risks, the reward, and the costs of those funds. But since it's a European regulation, well, the European funds are okay. Everyone complies with these regulations. But the US-based ETFs, they didn't bother to comply because they're focusing simply on the US. So what that means is that ETFs like SPY that are based in the United States, well, they don't comply with the regulation and therefore you're not able to buy these ETFs. But don't worry, because there are very similar ETFs out there here in Europe as well. If you take a look at the commission-free ETFs of DEGIRO, you can see some of these ETFs that are very similar. And just a quick side note, these commission-free ETFs are very interesting as well, because each calendar month, the first trade executed in an ETF is free of charge, okay? So if you want to buy ETFs once a month, then you can take a look at this list over here. I'll put it in the description as well. And you can choose an ETF from this list, and you won't have to pay transaction costs if you just buy once a month. So let's take a look at the list of ETFs we've got over here. And if we scroll down, we see a few examples of ETFs, European ETFs that is, that track the S&P 500 as well. For example, this one over here, the iShares S&P 500. You could buy this one if you would like to track the S&P 500. So what you can do is you can simply copy this code over here. You go to your DEGIRO platform, you paste it over here, and then it pops up right here, right? iShares S&P 500. So the method of buying this ETF is very similar to buying Shell stock or buying Apple stock. You simply click on the buy button, you choose a market order or limit order, you choose the amount of shares that you would like to buy, and if you choose a limit order, you also choose the price you would like to buy these shares for. And that is all there is to it. So that is super easy, right? Alright, so there you go. You've arrived at the end of this series about investing for beginners. We've taken a look at how to track your income, how to track your expenses, how to make sure that you have some extra money left over at the end of the month, and also how to invest that money wisely. I really hope that this series has brought you some value, but if you do have more questions after all, you can always drop a comment below this video, or you can send a DM or an email to ask whatever question that you would like. Now, if you've gotten any value out of this series, all I ask in return is for you to help me on my mission to help other millennials manage their money better. Now, there are two things that you could do to help me out. First of all, you could subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, because that helps me out a lot. And secondly, you can also share this video or share this series with a friend or a relative who you think could benefit a lot from this information. So with that being said, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this series about investing for beginners. I appreciate that a lot. And I wish you all the luck in the world on your investment adventure. See ya!